Have you ever felt like you're just hitting a wall in your life or your work? Well, what if I told you the way to break through isn't about working harder, but about thinking smarter? Today, we are going to dive into 7 incredible mental models that can completely rewire how you look at problems, how you innovate, and even how you survive. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck absolutely nailed it with this quote. It's not just about raw talent or how many hours you clock in. The real game changer, the thing that sets people apart, is the set of mental models they use to see the world. Think of them like the operating system your brain is running on. So that leads us to the big question, right? How do you upgrade that mental software? How do you install these new programs that let you see things more clearly and act way more effectively? Well, that's exactly what we're about to get into. Let's start with the absolute fundamentals, survival. These first two models are all about how we see and react to the world around us, especially when things get intense. And our first model, well, it comes from a pretty surprising teacher, the tiny little mosquito. Get this, the physics here are just wild. To a mosquito, a single raindrop is like a human getting hit by a bus. It weighs 50 times more than it does. So how on earth does it survive a rainstorm? It doesn't fight back. It just yields. It rolls with a punch, adapts instantly to this overwhelming force, and then just flies away. And that right there is mosquito thinking. In a world that's changing faster than ever, being flexible and adaptable is way more powerful than just being strong and rigid. It's all about embracing change, not trying to fight it head on. Okay, now for our second survival model. This one kind of builds on that idea of perception, but it's about learning to see what isn't even there. So, picture it. It's World War II. Planes are coming back from combat, riddled with bullet holes. Your job is to make them safer. Now, common sense tells you to add armor where you see all the bullet holes, right? Seems obvious. And when the military collected the data, this is what they saw. Most of the hits were on the fuselage and the wings. The engine, barely touched. So you armor the wings, case closed, right? Wrong. A mathematician named Abraham Wald had this incredible insight. He realized the data they were looking at was completely biased. The most important information was missing. Why? Because the planes that got hit in the engine, they never made it back. They weren't in the data set. The real lesson here is that sometimes the most crucial insights are hiding in the gaps, in what you can't see. Okay, so we've learned to adapt and to see what's missing. Now let's shift gears and look at a couple of models for coming up with breakthrough ideas and solving those really deep, nagging problems. This next one is just a masterclass in how to reframe a problem to find a totally elegant solution. So back in the 90s, the British Library had this huge problem: how to move 13 million books. The old way of thinking was stuck on the how. Get cheaper trucks, hire more people. But a young librarian reframed the question completely. Instead of asking, how do we move the books, he asked, how do we get the books to arrive at the new location? And his solution was genius. They just announced that anyone could borrow as many books as they wanted, with one simple rule. You just had to return them to the new library. And it worked. For just a tiny fraction of the original budget, that one simple idea, that one reframing of the problem, moved 90% of the entire collection. Now that is the power of thinking differently. All right, let's talk about something we've all been through: solving the exact same problem over and over and over again. Sound familiar? A problem pops up, you smack it down. Then another one pops up, you smack that one down. You're super busy, you feel like you're getting stuff done, but you're not actually making any real progress. You're just playing problem whack-a-mole. Upstream thinking means you stop whacking the moles. Instead, you walk upstream to figure out who's throwing them in the river in the first place. It's like when Google engineers in China saw low ad conversion. They didn't just make the ads prettier. They went upstream and found the real cause was super slow internet. The ads weren't even loading. So they fixed the loading problem, not the ad design. Okay, we've gone from surviving the present to innovating for the near future. So now let's zoom all the way out. These next models are all about building a vision that can guide you for years, even decades. First up, we have a really simple but incredibly profound idea for setting the entire direction of your life. The legendary investor Masayoshi Son once asked his team a really simple question: what holds people back from achieving great things? Then he drew this. He said, most of us are down here, at the bottom, just focused on the next step in front of us. But the greats, he said, their eyes are fixed on their ideal at the very top of the mountain. See, that ideal, it acts like a lighthouse. When you know exactly where you're going in the long run, you don't get freaked out by short-term storms or distracted by tiny victories. It gives you patience and a kind of unshakable focus.
Now, this next one, this is for anyone out there who feels guilty if they aren't busy every single second of the day. So, a Japanese study found two types of ants in a colony. Most of them were busy little workers, always doing their assigned tasks. But a few seemed kind of lazy, just wandering around aimlessly. But then, when the colony's main food source was suddenly cut off, the busy ants completely panicked. And guess who saved the day? The lazy ant. Turns out, it wasn't being lazy at all. It was exploring, strategizing, and finding new opportunities. So we've covered survival, innovation, and long-term vision. This last model, well, it kind of ties everything together. And honestly, it might be the most powerful one of them all. It's called field theory, and it's all about the unbelievable power of your own perceived reality. Just listen to this crazy story. A man is riding his horse through a blizzard, and he arrives at an inn, super proud that he managed to cross this huge snow-covered plain. The innkeeper asks him where he came from, and the man points back. The innkeeper looks horrified and says, "You just rode across the frozen Lake Constance." And the man, he dies of shock on the spot. That story is field theory in a nutshell. The geographical reality was a dangerous frozen lake, but his behavioral reality, his perception, was a safe, solid plain. And here's the core idea. We don't act based on the world as it is. We act based on the world as we perceive it to be. Our mental map is what dictates our journey. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. If your perception is what truly shapes your actions, then the most powerful thing you can possibly do is become an architect of your own reality. You can intentionally design your environment, your physical space, your mental space, to shape your perception for the better. It means curating what you let in to change your reality. So from the flexibility of mosquito thinking to the incredible power of field theory, these 7 models aren't just cool ideas. They're actual practical tools. They're new ways of seeing. So the question really is for you, which one of these are you going to start practicing today to upgrade your own mind?